Welcome to Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, where we feature entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who share their great ideas in our guest blog, found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest is Katina Horton, who's a coach, a speaker, and podcast host with a focus on power, soul, and identity. We're going to discuss how self-care leads to becoming your own cheerleader. And Katina joins us from the Chicagoland area in Illinois. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, I like to start our conversation by talking about this fantastic bucket list that you have in your background there. I absolutely love that it says read a book, watch the sunset, visit with friends. So we're all about empowerment. You're all about helping folks find their identity and get comfortable with who they are. So are these some of the things that you would suggest to folks who may be looking for ways to tap into their own energy?
You know what? These are like, I guess I would say, when I think about, even when it comes to affirmations, I would say affirmations along with these, that's all like, I would consider the cherry on top of a sundae. You know how you have the scoops of ice cream, you got the bananas, split on the side, you get the sprinkles and the nuts, and I would consider it the cherry on top. So like once you've gone through your entire specialized journey from going from healing to wholeness, affirmations and doing these types of things are like the cherry on top of everything else you got going on, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a disconnect there.
It sort of keeps you connected with who you are, right? When we start to do these few extra things. Now, tell me, you have a master's degree in information technology. And I know that you help folks with, branding and things like that as well. But how did you get into picking the niche of helping people focus on their own power, their soul, and identity?
It's kind of an interesting story to that niche, both from God's calling on my life and then from my own experience of being in a 20-year marriage that was toxic. And then along with that, encountering a lot of people, whether it was business relationships or jobs I worked on where people were toxic, and or it could have been friendships. Mm-hmm. And so like all of that experience is like in God's call on my life, I say, okay, this is what I am called to do. And then when I thought about analyze my name even, and I said that was like confirmation of where I'm supposed to be, because my name means Katina means purity and clean. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, wonderful.
So, yes. It made me kind of think about Nehemiah in the Bible when his name means Jehovah comforts. So, and the people were in a state of being afflicted and troubled.
Well, what I think is really interesting, Katina, is I'm sure that you find this as well. Now that we've all been through this sort of global situation where everyone's feeling a little disconnected, we're all feeling a little out of touch. We're, the basic needs in life have been kind of challenged, with all of these restrictions that we've had as a society that's been put on each individual. I don't know about you, but I found the folks in my network are really struggling with trying to re-tap into not only their creative energy, but who they are as people. So when folks connect with you, give our viewing and listening audience an idea of how you will help folks sort of re-tap into that, their identity and who they are, and how they can kind of change a negative into a positive.
Sure. So it kind of goes back to that Sunday that we talked about. Most people start with just doing the things that's back here behind me, along with the affirmations, right? Mm-hmm. And all of that is good, and it's healing to your soul. However, if they haven't done the work of healing, gone down that journey from healing to wholeness, then what happens is that there's going to be a disconnect. If they have, as far as it, these words are still going to bring life to their soul, but they're going to be even more meaningful, because if you're saying something and you're not really believing it yourself, you understand what I'm saying? Like something's off. So what most people do, we usually do things what I call our way.
Mhm.
And our way is when you open up rejection with affirmations and yielding, okay? But that yielding is just to pain and you don't know where to put it.
Right.
But I look at it when you do things his way, healing, and in this order as well, healing, identity, self-worth with affirmations and yielding. And that yielding is yielding uh to the Holy Spirit and partner up in God and your specialized healing journey. You know what I'm saying? And how
Yep.
he wants you to go on that plan for wholeness. Then that's how you're able to take on and make an effect in your life and have an impact. And so what happens with my coaching methodology is called freedomology. So you install two operating systems, just like when you have a computer, right? As a computer technician, you're sitting down installing two operating systems where you are a computer technician.
Right.
So you are installing the his way operating system, as I just spelled out what that means in order. And
Mhm.
then you're also installing the love and freedom operating system. And that means that you realize in relationships, there's got to be love and there's got to be freedom there. If you're operating under anything else, then you're not, in a healthy situation. You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying? Most
Yep.
men, well, I won't say most men, it's a lot of men who are toxic and they function off of the equation, what I call like P plus C. Okay. And then you got minus. P plus C is in parentheses. You got minus. Then you got L plus F in the parentheses, right? And then you got equals A. So that P plus C is power and control
Mhm.
for the equation. Minus the L plus F is love and freedom.
Mhm.
And that's equal abuse. And so most women are operating on L minus F equals C. And that's love minus freedom equal control.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's really interesting is I find that um, we need to cut ourselves some slack, because nobody's perfect. And
Exactly.
so sometimes we feel that, everything that we do has to follow a particular order. And I know that everything that we do in business, successful business people will always say, you follow a process. For sales, if you follow a process, then, if you start at the beginning, at the end, you'll be able to close the sale.
Right.
And so, very much like life, we try to follow a process. And when you deal with another human being, they might not have the same manual as you. And
That
so,
is so true.
isn't that
They may
true?
not have the same manual as you. That is so true.
Yeah.
Yes, because it makes me think about even with my freedomology coaching methodology, there is a process, there's a cycle that I
Right.
help women to see they're going through. And it involves going back to the beginning.
Yeah. And,
You
and
see
so
what I'm
process,
saying?
yeah, process is really important. And I think that we gravitate to process because it makes us feel comfortable. It
It
gives us,
does.
right? It gives us a
Mm-hmm.
sense of purpose. It gives us maybe a sense of control and maybe
That
even a
is true.
sense that, okay, if I'm okay, you're okay. I'm going to follow this process. I'm going to start at the beginning and, there'll be
Mm-hmm.
some bumps in the road along the way. But the end
Exactly.
result will be I'll be my own cheerleader.
Yes.
I'll feel more well, my
Right.
contribution then to my friends and family and community will be significantly different.
Yes.
So when folks find themselves in this place of disconnect, I call it, and I think that we can all relate. I mean, I don't know anyone in my business or social circle that at some point in time has not thought, it's just not happening. I'm feeling really out of sorts. Things are not
Yes.
working the way that they normally work, and I'm feeling really
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable.
Right.
So what would be one of the tips that you could provide that could get someone sort of on the road to at least feeling that they have some sort of control? Give them a process, the beginning of the process that may help them to at least feel a little bit more comfortable throughout the day. Some folks say meditate. Other
Right.
folks say use a positive affirmation. What are some of the
Right.
things that you might suggest?
Now, when it comes to different things you can do throughout the day, and if you're just feeling just totally disconnected in general, I would say that you're probably not having enough stillness time. You see
Ah,
what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
most of us, like I said, I have a 5L cycle to help us to understand why it is that we keep getting in toxic relationships,
Hmm.
along with not just toxic relationships, but the reason why any of our relationships don't work, the 5L cycle works for.
Right.
But then there's a 6S cycle that I have under freedomology. That's called a 6S. I have a 6S control cycle, which is what we normally follow. And then there's a 6S surrender cycle. So with the 6S control cycle, what happens is there's a certain state that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And that state is usually out of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from that state to striving. You're on a hamster wheel. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
according to whatever your love attachment style is, combined with your personality, that's going to determine how you're going to be on the hamster wheel as far as trying to get approval from other people, let the world know you're enough, so to speak. So you're
Mm-hmm.
just constantly striving on this hamster wheel, but you're not going anywhere. And so usually what happens is after you go through the striving, then you go through a period of sadness. And then instead of that sadness, when you're in that sadness mode, you're in a state of languishing. And so instead of that turning over to the stillness moment, what ends up happening is most people go to, and especially with women, when we're in relationships, like I said, this can be any kind of relationship, you go into solution mode.
Right. Fix
We
it.
go
We
into
have to fix
solution
it.
mode. You got to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And then we go and set the stage for whatever solution we've come up with. And then it leads to the next S, the 6th S, which is sailing. The person takes off. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Because
Yep.
you're still trying to run after them. But what needs to happen is when we start back on the 6S surrender cycle, is when you're starting with that state, which the state is out of control. You go into the place of striving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going from that striving to that sadness mode where you're languishing. Okay. What needs to happen after the sadness stage is that you go into a point of stillness, which I had to do this myself when I was in that 20-year marriage. Everything just came to a head.
Right.
And I had to get to a place of stillness. And in that stillness, and I like to call it a be still and know moment with God, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you get to that stillness moment, that's when you can get clarity. Because
Aha.
a lot of times what happened, we run around like energizer bunnies, and then we're wondering, why am I feeling like this? I feel so disconnected. I don't know what to do. And it's because we have not had enough time to be still and to even get any kind of revelation because we're moving. And
Right.
so once you're in that area of stillness, long enough and trying to listen, you're able to listen to your mind, body, and soul and what it's telling you and
Mm-hmm.
to get revelation during that mode. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You partner up with God, and then it's taking you to the next part of that 6S surrender cycle, which is self-awareness. You can't gain self-awareness if you still unenergized.
Running. Right.
So stillness gets you to self-awareness of what's really going on, both with you, the other person, and then the relationship as a whole. You see what I'm saying? And then that self-awareness leads you to surrendering your out. You know what I'm saying? You're surrendering the outcome of that relationship to God, and you're surrendering um your expectations, disappointments, and what you think, you know what I'm saying, what you
Mm-hmm.
really want it to be. And also you're surrendering the striving. You're like, I'm not going to strive anymore. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Love and freedom. We're not controlling people.
So, do you think that this philosophy or this process also applies? Because obviously, I can connect the dots in our in our personal life because
Right.
we all feel like the Energizer Bunny. I think sometimes running from
Oh
one
my
place to
word. Yes.
another. So, but I also feel that this translates into our professional life, into our business life, because quite
Yes.
often when we're in business, there's so many things that are happening in the course of the day. And lots of us have had to recalibrate. I call it recalibrate your GPS,
Yes.
because we've had so many things happening in the last few years that we're having to look at things in a different way. So,
That is
would this
true.
process also apply to folks who are in business, who are trying to make that connection? Like, where do I go next? How do I expand?
Yes. The same thing with business. Yes, it will go the same way because a lot of times, and I know even in the beginning of me, I've been in business for a while, but as far as me coaching specifically for women in toxic relationships and doing it the way that I'm doing it, I've been doing that a little bit under 2 years. Although
Mhm,
my niche has still been women in toxic relationships for a while now, since 2013, but like
mhm,
specifically coaching them a
mhm,
little bit under 2 years. But it's like when you're out there in the online space and you're on social media and you get a lot of requests via your DM, and people are saying, well, you do it like this and you do it like that. This is probably why it's not happening. And this is the reason why it's not happening. And that's the reason why it's not happening. And you've got to be able to tune all of that out
Right.
and sit in stillness and know what it is that's best for you, because what might work best for you may not work best for me, and vice versa.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
according to our wiring.
Yep.
And what happens is, when it comes to business, if we're not partnering up with God, what ends up happening is we will start looking over on the right lanes and the left lanes. And instead of looking at our and comparing ourselves over in those left lanes from who we were 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, we're lining up other people and say, well, theirs happened overnight.
Hmm.
And so this should be happening for me, but
Overnight.
our journey is
Hmm.
specialized for us.
Hmm.
And so, like you said, when it comes to business, you can easily end up spinning your wheels and not even discovering until you sit in that stillness, and the self-awareness comes through. Sometimes we sabotage ourselves. We do what I call ASP, and it stands for avoidance, self-sabotage, and procrastination. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so what it happens is we'll start off procrastinating, and that could be either due to anxiety, to fear, to stress. And we procrastinate sometimes even because of the fact that we have perfectionism issues.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And limiting beliefs. That's the fifth one. So any of those reasons. So it starts off as procrastination, and we put it off, put it off, put it off. And then the procrastination moves over into the area of avoidance. And then we've avoided so long that it has turned into self-sabotage, because our goals, our behaviors and habits and everything are not lining up to that end result or goal. You see what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah. You know what's
Hmm.
really interesting is you made a wonderful reference to technology and to social media. And I think one of the things that all of us have to realize is that nothing happens overnight. I mean, there is no such thing. I've heard lots of women who are entrepreneurs and have been in business for a long time say, yeah, it took me 25 years to be an overnight sensation. So
Right.
it just
Right.
it doesn't happen overnight. And to your
Hmm.
point, everybody's journey is a little bit different. But I also liked the point that you made where we have to partner and we have to collaborate with like-minded individuals, because
Yes.
at different stages in our journey, we need different people who can help us along the way.
Hmm.
And
I
I
think
think
that's
that's a really valuable lesson that we've all probably had to learn in the last little while, is to listen to what's actually happening around us and tap into the other folks who are in our network who can help. So that's really very valuable advice. I'd like to thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, one of
Yes.
the things that we do in the guest blog is we
Hmm.
ask folks to give us 3 words of advice. And your 3 words are reveal, feel, and heal. Why are
Yeah.
they important to you in your business, Katina?
Okay. So they're important to me because what happens a lot of times, we like to do what I call a $5 fill up. You know how
I
when you go,
love that saying.
right? And yes, we like to
That's
get
a
a
great
$5
saying.
fill up. You know, whether it comes to going to a therapist, going to coaching, we want to do a $5 fill up, and then we wonder why our soul is frozen and on empty. You see what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So if I leave from here, if I leave from my house to go to the grocery store, and there's a detour, because when you heal, you're going under construction, right? So there's construction going on. But if I decide, no, I feel entitled where I don't need to go through this, I'm going to find an alternate route. But then the alternate route takes me back, brings me back here home.
Right.
Then I've not gone anywhere. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when we do the $5 fill up, we have to keep going and keep putting $5 in, and we're going to end up stopped somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And be
Mhm.
stranded in our car. And it's the same thing with us, is that we have to go through under full construction to heal. So that's why reveal, feel, and heal is important, because if we don't reveal, go back into the beginning once again, right? Revealing what's in our family's love story garden and whatever traumas and drama went on there, then what's going to end up happening is that it's going to come out another kind of way.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
It's
And
going
I
to end
love
up
your
becoming
reference to
resolved.
the $5 fill up. I mean, who
Yes.
doesn't at times feel like you need a quick fix? And that's a really wonderful reference. I love that. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you, Katina, for providing us with a little bit of insight and a little bit of soul searching. It's really wonderful about your approach is that we're all going to be on the journey at different times, and we all need to seek advice and help when we need it, and also perhaps be a little bit more forgiving of ourselves in the journey that we take. So thank you so much for sharing some of your insight with us. It's been really wonderful.
You're very welcome.
And to you, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us in this edition of Keeping It Real, where we introduced you to the person behind the logo. I'm Trish Tonai, founder and host for the series. And if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.